Did you know that honey is one of the very few foods that never spoils? Archaeologists have discovered pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are thousands of years old, and they are still perfectly edible. This incredible longevity isn't magic, it's pure science. Honey has a very low water content and high acidity, creating an environment where bacteria and other microorganisms simply cannot survive. This natural preservative quality is just one of the many wonders of this golden liquid. It's a testament to the remarkable work of bees, tiny alchemists that turn simple flower nectar into an everlasting treasure, a food that can literally outlast civilizations. This remarkable fact sets the stage for a journey that is just as fascinating. Today, we are going to explore the sweet, sticky, and intricate process of how honeycomb gets from the bustling world of the beehive into the familiar jar sitting in your pantry. It is a story that involves millions of tiny, dedicated workers, patient beekeepers, and modern technology. We will follow the golden trail from the fragrant blossoms of the Australian bush, through the carefully managed hives, and into the heart of a processing factory. It's a path that reveals the incredible collaboration between nature and human ingenuity, a partnership that has sweetened our lives for millennia. Before we step inside the factory, it's important to understand what we're looking at. Honeycomb is not just a container for honey, it is a masterpiece of engineering. Constructed from beeswax, which the bees produce themselves, it is a perfect matrix of hexagonal cells. This shape is no accident. It is the most efficient way to store the most amount of honey using the least amount of wax. Each cell is a tiny pantry, filled to the brim with liquid gold, and then sealed with a wax cap, keeping it fresh and pure until it is needed by the bees, or by us. So get ready to dive into a world that is buzzing with activity. We'll uncover the secrets behind this ancient food, a substance that has been a source of sweetness, medicine, and fascination for as long as humans have walked the earth. We will see how ancient traditions meet modern science to bring this natural wonder to our tables. This journey from the hive to the jar is more than just food production. It's a story of nature's perfection and our continuous quest to work alongside it. Let's begin this sweet adventure and appreciate the incredible effort that goes into every single spoonful. Honey, and the honeycomb that holds it, has woven a golden thread through human history, connecting ancient cultures with our modern world. Long before we had sugarcane or processed sweets, honey was our primary source of sweetness. Cave paintings from Spain, dating back at least 8,000 years, depict early humans bravely climbing cliffs and trees to raid wild bee nests for this precious prize. These ancient artworks show us that our love for honey is not a recent development. It is a deep-seated craving, a part of our shared human story, a taste that our ancestors risked life and limb to experience. This fascination with honey wasn't just about its sweet taste. Across civilizations, it was revered for its perceived magical and medicinal properties. The ancient Egyptians used it as an offering to their gods, as a key ingredient in their embalming fluids, and as a remedy for wounds and ailments. In ancient Greece, the famous physician Hippocrates prescribed honey for various illnesses, from fevers to skin disorders. It was considered a gift from the gods, a symbol of health, wealth, and purity. This golden substance was more than food. It was a currency of wellness and a staple in the ancient pharmacy. The methods of collecting honey have certainly evolved over the centuries. Our ancestors would have used smoke to pacify the bees, often destroying the entire colony in the process of harvesting the honeycomb. It was a risky and often destructive practice. The development of beekeeping or apiculture was a revolutionary step. From simple clay pots and woven skeps in ancient times to the modern reusable Langstroth hives we see today, humans have learned to work in partnership with bees. This shift allowed us to harvest honey sustainably, ensuring the survival of the colony for future seasons of sweetness. This long and rich history is what makes the jar of honey on your shelf so special. It carries with it the echoes of ancient rituals, the wisdom of early healers, and the ingenuity of generations of beekeepers. When we uncap a jar of honey or bite into a piece of fresh honeycomb, we are tasting a food that has nourished and delighted humanity for countless generations. It's a connection to our past and a celebration of a natural process that has remained largely unchanged. The bees continue their work just as they always have, and we continue to marvel at the sweet result. To truly understand honeycomb, we first need to meet its creators, the honeybees. A bee colony is a marvel of social organization, a bustling city with tens of thousands of individuals working together for the common good. Each bee has a specific role to play, from the queen who lays the eggs to the male drones whose purpose is to mate, and the female worker bees who do just about everything else. These worker bees are the architects, the foragers, the nurses, and the guards of the hive. They are the ones who build the incredible structure we call honeycomb, a task that requires precision, teamwork, and an incredible amount of energy. The process begins with the production of beeswax. This is a special substance that worker bees, typically between 12 and 20 days old, secrete from glands on their abdomens. The wax emerges as tiny, clear flakes, which the bees then chew and manipulate with their mandibles. They soften it, mix it with their saliva, and carefully mold it into shape. To produce just 1 kilogram of beeswax, the bees must consume around 8 kilograms of honey. This highlights just how precious this building material is and why the bees use it so efficiently, never wasting a single flake in their construction efforts. The bees then construct the honeycomb, an intricate matrix of hexagonal cells. This shape is a stroke of genius, a perfect example of nature's efficiency. A hexagon is the strongest and most space-efficient shape for tiling a surface, meaning it allows the bees to store the maximum amount of honey with the minimum amount of wax. The cells are built back to back, sharing common walls, which further conserves their precious building material. Each cell is tilted slightly upwards, at an angle of about 13 degrees, a clever design feature that prevents the liquid honey from running out before the cell is capped. This structure is not just a storage unit, it is the very heart of the colony. The honeycomb serves multiple purposes within the hive. It is a nursery where the queen lays her eggs and where the young larvae and pupae develop into adult bees. It is a pantry for storing both honey, which provides the bees with energy, and pollen, which is their source of protein. It is also the communication center of the hive, where bees perform their famous waggle dance to tell their sisters where to find the best flowers. The honeycomb is the foundation of their entire world, a testament to their incredible instinct and architectural prowess. The journey of honey begins not in the hive, but in a field of blooming flowers. Forager bees, the older and more experienced workers, fly out from the colony on a critical mission to find and collect nectar. Nectar is a sugary liquid produced by flowers to attract pollinators like bees. The forager bee uses its long, straw-like tongue, called a proboscis, to suck up the nectar from the flower's nectaries. She stores this sweet liquid in a special stomach called a honey stomach, or crop. This stomach is separate from her digestive stomach, allowing her to transport the nectar back to the hive without consuming it herself. Once her honey stomach is full, which can require visiting hundreds of flowers, the forager bee flies back to the hive. There, she passes the nectar to a younger hive bee in a process that looks a bit like a kiss. This mouth-to-mouth transfer is the first step in a remarkable chemical transformation. The hive bee adds special enzymes from her own glands to the nectar. The most important of these enzymes is invertase, which begins to break down the complex sucrose in the nectar into two simpler sugars, glucose and fructose. This process is what makes honey more digestible for the bees and also helps prevent it from crystallizing. This nectar is passed from bee to bee, with each one adding more enzymes, further refining the mixture. But the nectar is still very watery, typically around 80% water, which would make it spoil quickly. The bees need to reduce this water content to below 20% to create the stable, long-lasting food we know as honey. To do this, they deposit the partially converted nectar into the hexagonal cells of the honeycomb. They then work together as a team, fanning their wings furiously over the cells to create a constant airflow. This breeze evaporates the excess water, gradually thickening the liquid into honey. When the honey has reached the perfect consistency and low water content, the bees seal the cell with a fresh cap of beeswax. This capping process protects the honey from moisture and contaminants, keeping it pure and ready for storage. It is now a stable food source, packed with the energy the colony will need to survive the cold winter months or periods when flowers are not in bloom. This transformation from delicate flower nectar to rich, stable honey is a perfect display of the bees' collective intelligence and chemical mastery, a truly magical process that unfolds within the warm, dark confines of the hive. The completed honeycomb is far more than just a passive storage container. It is a living, breathing pantry that is essential for the colony's survival. The bees arrange their stores with incredible organization. Honey is typically stored in the upper parts of the hive, where the warmth helps to keep it liquid and accessible. Below the honey stores, you will find cells filled with pollen. Bees collect pollen on their legs, pack it into cells, and mix it with a little nectar. This mixture, known as bee bread, is the colony's primary source of protein, fats, and vitamins, and it's crucial for feeding the developing young bees or brood. This strategic placement ensures that the colony's resources are exactly where they need to be. The nursery, or brood chamber, is located in the central and lower parts of the comb. Here, the queen bee lays her eggs, one per cell. The nurse bees tend to the growing larvae, feeding them a diet of bee bread and royal jelly. The temperature and humidity in this area are meticulously controlled by the worker bees, who will heat or cool the area by vibrating their flight muscles or fanning their wings. The entire honeycomb structure functions as a dynamic system, a self-regulating incubator and pantry all in one. The honeycomb's hexagonal cells are not only used for food and brood, but also play a role in the health of the hive. Bees line the inside of each cell with propolis, a sticky, resinous substance they collect from tree buds. Propolis has powerful antimicrobial and antibacterial properties, effectively sterilizing the cell before the queen lays an egg or before it is filled with honey. This creates a remarkably clean environment, protecting the colony from diseases that could otherwise spread rapidly in such a crowded space. The honeycomb is, in essence, a fortress of food and health, built and maintained by its industrious residents. For thousands of years, humans have sought out this remarkable pantry. We have learned to work with the bees, providing them with safe homes in the form of beehives, in exchange for a share of their surplus honey. Beekeepers understand that they must only take what the bees can spare, ensuring the colony has more than enough honey and pollen to sustain itself through the lean times. This partnership between humans and bees is built on a deep respect for the magic of the hive and the incredible work that goes into creating every single perfect wax-capped cell of golden honey. The journey from hive to factory begins with the beekeeper, a figure who is part farmer, part scientist, and part guardian of the bees. The harvest is not a random event. It is a carefully timed process that depends on the seasons, the local climate, and the health of the colony. Here in Australia, with our diverse flora, beekeepers might harvest honey multiple times a year, following the flowering of different native trees like eucalyptus and tea tree. A skilled beekeeper knows exactly when the honey is ready. They look for frames that are heavy and almost entirely capped with pristine white beeswax, a clear sign from the bees that the honey inside is ripe, with the perfect low moisture content for long-term storage. Before approaching the hives, the beekeeper must prepare. They don a protective suit, complete with a veiled helmet and gloves, to shield themselves from stings. While honeybees are generally not aggressive, they will defend their home vigorously, and opening a hive is a significant disturbance. The beekeeper's most essential tool is the smoker. This simple device burns natural, cool-burning materials like pine needles or burlap to produce a gentle, cool smoke. The smoke doesn't harm the bees, but it triggers a fascinating instinct. It masks the alarm pheromones that guard bees' release, preventing a full-scale defensive response. It also encourages the bees to gorge on honey, making them calmer and more docile. With the bees calmly occupied, the beekeeper uses a hive tool, a small crowbar-like instrument, to carefully pry open the top of the hive. They work with slow, deliberate movements to minimize stress on the colony. The beekeeper's goal is to harvest only the surplus honey, leaving more than enough for the bees to survive and thrive. They typically take frames from the upper boxes of the hive, known as supers, which are specifically designated for honey storage. The lower boxes, the brood chambers where the queen lays her eggs and the young are raised, are left completely untouched, ensuring the future of the colony remains secure. Selecting the right frames is an art. The beekeeper lifts each frame one by one for a final inspection. They are looking for frames where at least 80% of the cells are capped. This confirms the honey is fully cured and won't ferment. Frames that are not yet ready are gently placed back into the hive for the bees to finish their work. This selective and sustainable approach is the hallmark of modern beekeeping. It is a practice built on a deep understanding of the bee's life cycle and a commitment to working in harmony with nature, ensuring a sweet harvest for us and a healthy, productive future for the bees. Once the beekeeper has selected the perfect frames of honeycomb, the next challenge is to remove the thousands of bees that are still crawling all over them. This must be done gently and efficiently, right there in the field, to ensure most of the bees remain with their hive. One of the most common methods is to use a bee brush. This is a special tool with very soft, long bristles, designed to sweep the bees off the comb without injuring them. The beekeeper holds the frame over the open hive and, with a few swift but gentle strokes, brushes the bees back down into their home, where they can quickly rejoin their colony. Another popular and slightly less hands-on method involves using a device called a bee escape. This is a one-way door that is placed between the honey supers and the brood boxes a day or two before the harvest. The bees can travel down through the escape board to get to the main part of the hive, but they cannot get back up into the supers. When the beekeeper returns, they find the honey frames almost entirely free of bees, making the collection process much quicker and calmer for everyone involved. This clever piece of equipment leverages the bees' natural movement patterns to achieve a peaceful separation, minimizing disruption to the daily life of the colony. A more modern and large-scale technique uses a bee blower, which is essentially a modified leaf blower. It directs a high volume of low-pressure air across the surface of the frames, blowing the bees off and back towards the hive entrance. While it might seem a bit forceful, it is a very fast and effective method, especially for commercial beekeepers who may be harvesting from hundreds of hives in a single day. The bees are unharmed by the blast of air and quickly find their way back inside. Regardless of the method used, the primary goal is always the same: to separate the bees from their honey with the least amount of stress possible. After the bees have been removed, the precious frames of honeycomb are immediately placed into empty, sealed boxes. This is a critical step to protect the harvest. The moment the honeycomb is removed from the hive, it becomes vulnerable to robber bees from other colonies, who are always on the lookout for an easy meal. It also needs to be protected from dust, dirt, and other contaminants in the field. By quickly securing the frames in clean, closed containers, the beekeeper ensures that the honeycomb begins its journey to the factory in the most pristine and pure condition possible, a perfect product of the hive. With the honeycomb frames safely secured in their transport boxes, the final stage of the field operation begins, the journey to the processing facility. For many Australian beekeepers, especially those who follow the seasonal flowering of native plants, the hives can be located in some pretty remote and rugged parts of the bush. The journey back to the factory might mean navigating unpaved tracks and covering long distances. The vehicles used for transport, typically flatbed trucks or specialised trailers, are designed to carry the heavy load of honey securely. You might be surprised to hear that a single full frame of honeycomb can weigh over 2 kilograms, and a full harvest can easily amount to several tons of liquid gold. The transport process is carefully managed to protect the integrity of the honeycomb. The boxes are stacked and strapped down tightly to prevent them from shifting or tipping over during the drive. The honeycomb itself is surprisingly fragile, and rough handling could cause the delicate wax cells to break, leading to honey leakage and, well, a very sticky mess. Temperature is also a big consideration. On a hot Australian day, the beeswax can soften, so beekeepers often prefer to transport the harvest during the cooler parts of the day, such as the early morning or evening, just to keep the comb firm and intact until it reaches the controlled environment of the factory. Upon arrival at the honey processing factory, the golden convoy is met with a sense of purpose and urgency. The honeycomb cannot be left sitting on the truck for long. The clock is ticking to get the honey from the comb into a protected environment where its quality can be preserved. The sealed boxes are carefully unloaded from the truck, often using forklifts, and moved into a receiving area of the factory. This area is kept meticulously clean and is often temperature controlled. It's also designed to be bee-proof, preventing any curious bees that might have followed the truck from getting inside and causing a nuisance. This crucial handover from the beekeeper's truck to the factory floor marks the end of the honeycomb's time in the wild and the beginning of its transformation into the products we love. It's a transition from the natural, organic world of the hive to the clean, efficient, and technological world of modern food processing. Every step, from the careful timing of the harvest to the gentle eviction of the bees and the secure transport, is performed with the utmost care. This dedication ensures that the purity, flavour, and unique character of the honey, gifted by the bees and gathered by the beekeeper, are perfectly preserved for the next stage of the journey. Once the precious cargo of honeycomb frames arrives at the factory, its first stop is a special room known as the hot room or warming chamber. This is a crucial yet gentle first step in the processing journey. The room is heated to a specific temperature, usually about 35 degrees Celsius, which cleverly mimics the natural temperature inside a bustling beehive. This warmth serves a very important purpose. Honey, in its natural state, is quite thick and viscous, especially if it is cooled down during transport. Gently warming the honeycomb makes the honey flow much more freely, which is essential for the extraction process that follows. It ensures that every last drop can be easily removed from the wax cells without applying excessive force. This warming process is a delicate balancing act. The temperature must be high enough to make the honey runny, but not so high that it damages the honey's natural qualities or melts the delicate beeswax comb. Overheating honey can destroy its beneficial enzymes and alter its complex flavour profile, which is something every honey producer wants to avoid at all costs. The warming rooms are therefore equipped with precise thermostats and circulation fans to ensure the heat is distributed evenly. The frames of honeycomb will rest in this gentle warmth for a period of 24 to 48 hours, allowing the honey to slowly and uniformly reach the perfect consistency for the next stage of its journey. This step is a perfect example of how modern factories work with the natural properties of honey, rather than against them. In older, more traditional methods, honey might have been heated more aggressively to speed things up, but this often came at the cost of quality. Today's technology allows for a much more controlled and respectful approach. The warm room is a clean, sealed environment, protecting the honeycomb from any dust or airborne contaminants. It is the factory's antechamber, a place where the honeycomb is prepared for its transformation, ensuring that the purity and character captured by the bees in the field are carried forward into the final product. As the frames sit in this balmy environment, the sweet floral aroma of the honey begins to fill the air, a fragrant promise of the delicious product to come. Factory workers, dressed in clean, protective clothing, will carefully monitor the process, checking the temperature and ensuring everything is proceeding as planned. This initial stage, while seemingly passive, is fundamental to the entire factory operation. It sets the stage for an efficient and high-quality extraction, a gentle persuasion that coaxes the honey from its wax fortress, preparing it to flow freely into the next phase of its transformation from the comb into the jar. Once the honeycomb has been sufficiently warmed, the frames are moved from the hot room to the uncapping line. This is where the magic really begins to happen. Before the honey can be extracted, the protective beeswax cap that seals each cell must be carefully removed. This process is called uncapping, and it is a critical step that requires precision and care. For centuries, beekeepers did this by hand using a special heated knife or a serrated fork-like tool to slice or scrape off the wax caps. While this traditional method is still used by hobbyists and small-scale producers, commercial factories employ sophisticated machinery to handle the task with incredible speed and efficiency. The most common piece of equipment for this is an automatic uncapping machine. A worker places a frame of honeycomb onto a conveyor belt, which guides it vertically through the machine. Inside, a series of rapidly vibrating, heated blades or rotating flails moves across both sides of the frame simultaneously. These blades are calibrated to slice off just the very top layer of the wax caps, leaving the hexagonal cells of the comb underneath perfectly intact. The process is honestly mesmerizing to watch, as the pristine white wax cappings fall away, revealing the glistening golden honey stored within each cell. This automated process can uncap hundreds of frames per hour, a feat that would take a team of workers all day to accomplish by hand. The removed wax cappings, which are dripping with honey, are not discarded. They fall onto a mesh grid or into a collection bin directly below the uncapping machine. This mixture of wax and honey is a valuable byproduct of the process. The cappings will be processed separately to reclaim both the pure beeswax and the high-quality honey that clings to it. This commitment to using every part of the harvest is a key principle of modern honey production, ensuring nothing goes to waste. The uncapped frames, now open on both sides and gleaming with exposed honey, continue their journey along the conveyor belt, ready for the main event: extraction. Despite the automation, there is still a human touch involved. A quality control worker often stands at the end of the uncapping line to inspect each frame, looking for any missed spots or areas that the machine might not have reached perfectly. Using a handheld uncapping scratcher or fork, they will manually open any remaining sealed cells. This blend of high-tech machinery and skilled human oversight ensures that every single cell is open and ready to release its sweet treasure. It is a perfect marriage of industrial efficiency and artisanal attention to detail, all aimed at maximizing the honey yield while preserving the integrity of the comb. With the wax seals removed, the frames are now ready for the extraction phase. This is where the honey is finally separated from the beeswax comb. The frames are carefully loaded into a large stainless steel machine called a honey extractor. An extractor is essentially a large centrifuge, a drum that is designed to spin the frames at high speed. The frames are placed vertically inside a set of racks or baskets within the drum, much like loading clothes into a washing machine. Once the lid is securely fastened, the machine is switched on, and the golden spin cycle begins, using the power of centrifugal force to gently pull the honey out of the cells. The extractor starts spinning slowly at first, and then gradually increases its speed. This gradual acceleration is important to prevent the delicate beeswax combs from shattering under the sudden force. As the extractor spins, the honey is flung outwards from the cells and onto the inner wall of the stainless steel drum. From there, it drips down the sides and collects at the bottom of the extractor. The process is incredibly efficient and, crucially, it is gentle on the combs. The empty wax combs remain almost perfectly intact and can be returned to the beekeepers to be placed back in the hives. The bees will then clean and repair the cells and can begin refilling them with new honey, saving them an enormous amount of time and energy. Modern extractors used in large factories are impressive pieces of engineering. They can hold anywhere from 20 to over 100 frames at a time. The most advanced models are radial extractors, where the frames are positioned like the spokes of a wheel. This allows the honey to be extracted from both sides of the comb simultaneously, making the process even faster. The entire operation is controlled by a computer program that manages the spin speed and duration, ensuring a consistent and thorough extraction every time. At the bottom of the extractor is a valve or gate, known as a honey gate, through which the extracted honey can be drained. When the spin cycle is complete, the honey gate is opened, and a thick, warm river of pure, raw honey flows out of the extractor. It is a beautiful sight, the culmination of the bees' hard work and the factory's careful processing. This freshly extracted honey is not yet ready for the jar, as it still contains small particles of beeswax, propolis, and other tiny bits from the hive. The next step will be to filter and clarify this golden liquid, but the most significant part of the separation is complete. The honey has been freed from its wax home, ready to be purified and prepared for our tables. As the river of warm honey flows from the extractor, it begins the next crucial stage of its journey: filtration and clarification. The primary goal of this step is to remove any solid impurities that may have been mixed in during the uncapping and extraction processes. These impurities are mostly small particles of beeswax, but can also include bits of propolis, pollen, and other hive debris. While these particles are completely natural and harmless, most consumers prefer honey that is crystal clear and smooth. Therefore, the honey is gently pumped from the extractor through a series of filters or sieves to achieve that pristine appearance. The filtering process is typically done in multiple stages, moving from coarse to fine. The first filter might be a simple mesh screen designed to catch the larger pieces of wax and debris. The honey then flows into a large, heated tank called a sump. The heat helps to keep the honey fluid, making it easier to filter, and also allows some of the finer particles and air bubbles to rise to the surface, where they can be skimmed off. From the sump, the honey is pumped through a series of progressively finer filters. This gentle, multi-stage approach ensures that the honey is cleaned without being subjected to harsh pressures or excessive heat that could damage its quality. The level of filtration can vary depending on the type of honey being produced and the standards of the company. Some honey is only lightly strained to retain a high pollen content, which is desirable for some health-conscious consumers. Most commercial honey, however, is filtered more thoroughly to create a product that is exceptionally clear and has a longer shelf life, as fine particles can act as nucleation sites that encourage crystallization. In some large-scale operations, a process called ultrafiltration may be used, which pushes honey through microscopic filters at high pressure to remove even the finest particles, including most of the pollen. After passing through the final filter, the honey is considered clean and clarified. It is now a pure, glistening liquid, free from any visible imperfections. It is then pumped into large, stainless steel holding tanks. Here it will be allowed to settle, giving any remaining microscopic air bubbles a chance to rise to the surface. These tanks can hold thousands of litres of honey, and different batches from different apiaries might be blended at this stage to achieve a consistent flavour, colour and texture that customers have come to expect from a particular brand. This is where the art of the honey packer truly comes into play, creating a signature product from nature's variable bounty. While the golden honey continues its journey towards bottling, let's not forget about the other precious product harvested in the factory, the beeswax. Absolutely nothing is wasted in a modern honey processing facility. The wax cappings that were sliced off the frames during the uncapping process are a mixture of pure beeswax and a significant amount of honey. The first step is to separate these two valuable components. The cappings are typically channeled into a machine called a wax spinner or a cappings press, which uses centrifugal force or pressure to squeeze out as much of the residual honey as possible. This reclaimed honey is just as high quality as the extracted honey and is added to the main flow for filtration. Once the honey has been removed, what remains is a block of damp, sticky beeswax. This wax needs to be melted and cleaned to be turned into a usable product. The wax is placed into large, heated vats, often with a double boiler design to prevent scorching. As the wax melts, it separates from any remaining honey and other impurities. Because wax is lighter than honey and water, it floats to the top. The heavier impurities, like propolis and hive debris, sink to the bottom, and any remaining honey forms a layer in the middle. This allows the pure, liquid wax to be carefully skimmed or drained off the top. The liquid beeswax is then poured through a final set of fine filters to remove any last traces of impurities, ensuring it is perfectly clean. This purified, molten wax is then poured into molds of various shapes and sizes. As it cools, it solidifies into clean, bright yellow or white blocks of pure beeswax. This wax is a valuable commodity in its own right, prized for its natural properties and pleasant scent. It has a vast array of uses, from making candles and cosmetics like lip balms and lotions, to creating food-safe wraps as a sustainable alternative to plastic wrap, and even for coating pills in the pharmaceutical industry. This careful harvesting and processing of the beeswax completes the cycle of the factory's work. It demonstrates a deep respect for the materials and the incredible effort the bees put into producing them. The empty honeycombs are returned to the beekeeper to be reused. The honey is sent for bottling, and the beeswax is transformed into a multitude of useful products. Every single element of the honeycomb is honoured and utilised. This efficient, no-waste philosophy is not just good for business. It's a sustainable practice that mirrors the incredible efficiency of the bees themselves, ensuring that their sweet labour benefits us in more ways than one. Before the pristine, clarified honey can be poured into jars, it undergoes one final, rigorous quality check. This is a critical step in the process, ensuring that every single batch of honey meets the highest standards of safety, purity, and taste. A sample of the honey is taken from the large holding tanks and sent to the factory's on-site laboratory. Here, trained technicians perform a series of sophisticated tests. They meticulously measure key characteristics like moisture content, which must be below a certain threshold, typically around 18%, to prevent fermentation and ensure the honey will have a long, stable shelf life, just like the honey found in ancient tombs. The lab technicians also analyze the honey's sugar composition, checking the ratio of fructose to glucose. This is important because it affects the honey's tendency to crystallize and provides a key indicator of its authenticity. Furthermore, they test for any potential contaminants, ensuring the honey is completely pure and free from any residues. In Australia, the standards for honey are extremely high, and these tests confirm that the product is nothing but 100% pure Australian honey, with no added sugars or syrups. This scientific validation provides a crucial guarantee of quality for consumers, backing up the natural purity of the product. Beyond the scientific analysis, the honey also undergoes a sensory evaluation. This is where the art of honey tasting comes into play. A panel of experienced tasters, much like wine sommeliers, assesses the honey's unique characteristics. They evaluate its colour, which can range from almost clear to deep, dark amber, depending on the floral source. They judge its clarity and viscosity, and most importantly, they assess its aroma and flavour profile. Each type of honey, whether from eucalyptus, ironbark, or leatherwood blossoms, has a distinct taste, and this panel ensures the final product is true to its origin and meets the expected flavour standard for that particular variety. Only after the honey has passed every single one of these tests, chemical, physical, and sensory, is it given the final approval for bottling. This comprehensive quality control process is the factory's ultimate promise to the consumer. It is a testament to the producer's commitment to excellence, bridging the gap between the natural, variable world of the hive and the consistent, trusted product that people expect to find on their supermarket shelves. This final gatekeeping step ensures that the golden liquid poised to fill the jars is not just sweet, but is of the absolute highest quality, integrity, and purity possible. Once the honey has been officially approved, it is gently pumped from the large holding tanks to the bottling hall. This is where the honey meets its final container in a highly organized and automated process. The bottling line is, honestly, a marvel of modern food production technology, designed to fill thousands of jars per hour with incredible precision and hygiene. The process begins with the jars themselves. Brand new, clean glass jars or plastic containers are fed onto a conveyor belt from a hopper. They're often passed through a jet of sterilized air to blow out any minuscule dust particles, making sure the container is perfectly clean before filling. The jars then travel along the conveyor to the automated filling station. Here, a machine with multiple nozzles is positioned directly over the moving jars. As each jar passes underneath, a precise volume of warm, liquid honey is dispensed into it. The filling is done by weight or volume to ensure that every jar contains the exact amount of product stated on the label. The temperature of the honey is carefully controlled at this stage. It needs to be warm enough to flow easily and prevent air bubbles from being trapped, but not so hot that it damages the honey or the jar. The entire process is swift, clean and, well, mesmerizing to watch as jar after jar is filled with glistening gold. Immediately after being filled, the jars continue their journey down the conveyor belt to the capping station. Here, another automated machine places a lid onto each jar and tightens it to create a perfect airtight seal. This seal is crucial for protecting the honey from moisture and contaminants, preserving its freshness and flavor for months or even years. Some systems also include an induction sealing process, where a foil liner is bonded to the rim of the jar using an electromagnetic field. This provides a tamper-evident seal, giving consumers an extra layer of confidence that their honey is safe and has not been opened since leaving the factory. Throughout this entire automated process, human oversight remains essential. Workers monitor the machinery, ensuring everything is running smoothly and making adjustments as needed. They perform regular spot checks, pulling jars from the line to verify the fill weight and the tightness of the seal. This combination of high-speed automation and diligent human supervision ensures that the bottling process is not only efficient, but also meets the strictest standards of quality and safety. The honey is now securely housed in its jar, protected from the outside world and ready for the final step, getting dressed for the shelves. Now that the jars are filled and sealed, they are ready for the final touches that will transform them from anonymous containers into a recognizable product ready for the retail environment. The jars continue their journey on the conveyor belt to the labeling machine. This sophisticated piece of equipment applies the brand's label to each jar with remarkable speed and precision. The machine uses sensors to detect each jar as it passes, then smoothly wraps a self-adhesive label around its body. It might also apply a separate label to the lid or a small seal over the top, completing the branded look of the product. The label is the product's identity, and it's applied perfectly every time. The label is more than just a pretty design. It is a vital source of information for the consumer. It must, by law, include key details such as the product name, the net weight, the company's contact information, and a list of nutritional facts. Crucially, it will also feature a batch code and a best before date. The batch code is a traceability tool that allows the factory to track the specific honey back through the entire production process, right to the beekeepers and the apiaries it came from. This is essential for quality control and, in the unlikely event of a product recall, ensuring transparency and accountability at every stage. After labeling, the jars move through one final quality inspection. This could involve a machine that checks for underfilled jars or improperly sealed lids, automatically rejecting any that don't meet the standard. A human inspector also gives the jars a final visual check, ensuring the labels are straight and the product looks perfect. The approved jars are then carefully packed into cardboard boxes or trays by an automated packing machine or by hand. These boxes are then stacked onto pallets, shrink-wrapped for stability and protection, and moved into the warehouse, ready for distribution to stores across the country and around the world. From the moment it arrived as raw comb to this final stage as a pallet of finished goods, the honey has been on an incredible journey. The bottling and packaging process is the final act in the factory's role, a symphony of automation and human care that ensures the product is safe, beautiful, and informative. The honey is now fully prepared for its journey to the consumer. It carries with it the story of the bees, the dedication of the beekeepers, and the precision of the factory, all sealed within a humble jar, waiting to bring a touch of natural sweetness to someone's table. Our journey from the bustling hive to the familiar jar has revealed a process that is both ancient and thoroughly modern. The production of honey is a remarkable story of partnership, where timeless natural rhythms meet cutting-edge technology. On one hand, we have the bees, performing their magical alchemy just as they have for millions of years, turning fragrant nectar into golden honey. Their methods have not changed. On the other hand, we have the human element, which has evolved dramatically. We have moved from the risky honey hunting of our ancestors to a sophisticated and sustainable practice that honors both the bees and the precious product they create for us. This blend of tradition and technology is what makes the story so compelling. The beekeeper in the field still relies on an intimate, almost intuitive knowledge of the seasons and the bees, a wisdom passed down through generations. They use simple, traditional tools like the smoker to work in harmony with the colony. Yet, once the honeycomb arrives at the factory, a different kind of magic takes over. Gleaming stainless steel machines, precise temperature controls, and automated lines take charge, transforming the raw product with incredible efficiency and hygiene. It is a process that respects the past while embracing the future, ensuring the honey's purity is protected at every step. The factory we have explored is not a place that overpowers nature, but one that works in concert with it. The warming room gently mimics the heat of the hive to help the honey flow. The centrifuge uses the laws of physics to gently coax the honey from its comb, leaving the precious wax structure intact so it can be returned to the bees. This thoughtful application of technology allows us to process honey on a massive scale without compromising the delicate qualities that make it so special. It ensures that the unique flavors and aromas from the specific Australian blossoms the bees visited are preserved all the way to your kitchen table. So, the next time you see a jar of honey, think of this incredible symphony. It is a performance conducted by nature, with the bees as the lead musicians. The beekeepers are the dedicated guardians of the orchestra, and the factory workers are the skilled technicians ensuring the final recording is flawless. It is a process that harmonizes the wild, organic world of the hive with the clean, controlled precision of modern industry. This beautiful balance is what allows us to enjoy one of nature's purest gifts with complete confidence and trust, a sweet collaboration between bee, human, and machine. As our journey concludes, we are left with a renewed appreciation for the humble honeybee. These tiny creatures are the true heroes of our story. They are not only responsible for the delicious honey we enjoy, but they are also vital pollinators, essential to the health of our ecosystems and the security of our food supply. The complex society of the hive, the architectural genius of the honeycomb, and the tireless work of each individual bee are a powerful reminder of the wonder and intelligence that exists in the natural world. Their sweet labor is a gift, one that we must cherish and protect by supporting sustainable beekeeping practices and preserving their natural habitats. We must also celebrate the skill and dedication of the people involved in this journey. From the patient beekeeper who braves the elements and the stings, to the diligent factory worker who monitors the machinery and ensures every jar is perfect, this is a story of human passion. These individuals are the custodians of an ancient craft, blending their expertise with modern science to bring us a product that is safe, pure, and delicious. They are the essential link in the chain that connects the flower in the field to the toast on your breakfast plate, and their commitment to quality is present in every single spoonful. Ultimately, the journey of honeycomb production is a story about the simple joy of good food. Honey is more than just a sweetener. It is a taste of a specific time and place. It is the essence of Australian sunshine and blossoms captured in a jar. Whether you drizzle it on your porridge, stir it into your tea, or simply enjoy a spoonful straight from the jar, you are partaking in a food with a rich history and a fascinating story. It is a product of nature's perfection, a symbol of tireless work, and a testament to a beautiful partnership between our world and the world of the bees. So the next time you uncap a jar of honey, take a moment. Breathe in its unique floral aroma and appreciate the incredible journey it has taken to reach you. From the tiny bee sipping nectar from a flower, to the intricate wax comb in the hive, through the gleaming machinery of the factory, and finally into the jar in your hand. It is a long and sweet journey indeed, one that reminds us that sometimes the most magical things in life are the ones that have been here all along, waiting patiently for us to appreciate their simple, golden wonder.